Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Life Chronicles and Deep Dives podcast. I'm here with Coach Cornelia, all the way in Romania.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
And my name is Coach Mika Ranjit here in the United States. Today, we're going to be talking about finding the truth. This is a big topic for me because I am always on a search for the truth. So let's define it a little bit. Truth is the absolute state of something, right? Without interference from opinions or perspectives. So that is what the truth is, right? So it's very hard to find the truth, right? Because everybody's looking through different lenses at the world, right? So I'm just going to throw in here a little topic that's just a little controversial right now. So if we're looking at the Israel and Palestine, war, the war in Gaza, each person on the planet has a different perspective of that war altogether. Me personally, I just wish it wasn't happening altogether, and nobody was fighting anybody. I think absolute freedom and peace is probably the thing I seek most is that absolute freedom and peace, and I just see war as a way to not have that. So I wish it wasn't happening, but each person sees that conflict from a different side. Some people see it as like on the Palestinian side, they believe in that. Other people believe in the Israel side. And so because of that belief, there is conflict, right? Between not just the people that are in the conflict, but around the world. There are conflicts between people, right? So we've taken something and we've expanded it exponentially into like a worldwide, conflict that doesn't need to happen. Anyway, so got a little off topic there, but truth, how do we find it? It's kind of like peeling back layers of an onion. So if I were to look at a situation happening, and Cornelia, you were to look at a situation happening, right? Each of our identities, who we are, core beliefs, our life experiences will shape our perception of that experience, right? But there's more to it than that. So there's first person, there's your view, right? There's third person, which is outside as an observer. And that's where we need to get to. We need to get to removing our opinions, and that's that peeling back the layer of the onion, removing our perceptions, our beliefs of the world, and just looking at something as it's happening and just accepting it for that's what's happening without trying to apply our belief system to it.
Kind of impossible to achieve, right?
It's very, very hard to get there. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's darn near impossible to have that. I mean, like, so I could say this is a bottle of water, right? So that is true, right? But when it comes to interactions with people and behaviors, that's where you start to get to the more impossibility, because not only do we have to account for your opinion, my opinion, or perception, right? But there's a couple more, right? We're trying to get to that third person view, but it's also the person that we're looking at, right? So their perception, their truth also plays into it, because we could just be watching something from the outside, say, oh, they're having an argument, right? Me and you both could say they're both having an argument, right? But to them, they're not having an argument. They're having a great time, right? I mean,
While you were talking about it, I remembered I read something. I think it was an Iranian author, very interesting. I don't remember the name, unfortunately, right now. But he was saying, while I'm trying to get rid of my bias and try to seek for the truth, I realize that I'm getting new bias on the way, and then I'm trying to confront those ones and get rid of them, and then I'm coming back with another bias, and so on, and it never ends. So even if you talk about a position of observer who doesn't have something to gain from a situation, they still have these lenses where they have their own biases and ideas and principles and experiences. So, in my opinion, it's impossible to find the truth. And I'm a Nietzsche lover, and I've been building my life mostly on reading Nietzsche. He was saying that it's impossible to find the truth, and I agree with it because who can define what truth is? Which is the truth? No one, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to get to that specific. It's almost impossible to peel back the layers of the onion so far that you are literally just an observer. Now, I'm gonna throw two things here, right? So the first one is meditation, right? So through meditation, right, you can start to peel back your own layers. That's yours, right?
Yeah.
So let's say if I introspect through meditation, free flow of ideas, right? I can start to remove those barriers, those internal biases. I can work towards trying to achieve, right, that third person observer uh, truth seeking, right? But the problem is that no matter what, it's still coming from me, right?
Mhm.
So even
You
through meditation,
you cannot be non-judgmental no matter what you're trying. And I remember in Indian philosophy, they were talking about in Brahmanian philosophy, they were talking about Trinity, which we also have in Christianity, the Holy Trinity, and they were saying that this is the truth. But at the same time, how do you define it? Because the Indians are defining it in a way, the Christians are defining it in another way, depending on the judgment. So it's very hard to take those layers off, like you're saying, and become non-judgmental. And I think the one who can become non-judgmental, that must be God, or this superior power we have above us or around us.
right? I mean, so let's talk about religion, right? So every religion believes that they are right.
Mm,
So I mean, okay, and we're gonna throw this in here. Like almost every conflict on the planet is created by religion or a belief system,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So while trying to be good still creates bad. But then we're looking at if each religion is telling you that they're the right one and they're the only one and they're the one that you should be listening to. And like they've kind of moved. It's a lot of religions have moved away from forced indoctrination and brainwashing and stuff like that. But some of them still believe that if you don't believe what they believe in, then they should, remove you from the planet. And
yeah,
that's mind-boggling to me, right? Like again, we're going to talk about my theory on absolute freedom and peace is basically, and I've got a couple of different smaller episodes where I've put up videos on this. But basically, to have it, it would take the willingness of everyone on the planet to cease to impose their will and controls on anybody else, right? So if and I've posed that to AI, and they're like, it's just hard because like society and everyone's got their beliefs and blah blah blah, right? And that's the key word in that is the willingness, right? And each person can do that a little bit less. They can maybe seek to control somebody a little bit less. They can seek to impose their will or their belief system on somebody in daily life just a little bit less. One, they won't feel stressed because they're trying to change somebody's mind into something. Two, then the other person has a little bit more freedom. But remember, because of that chain reaction, that one person gets a little bit more freedom, everybody gets a little bit more freedom. Back to the religion. The religions, if they're all telling you that they're right, who is right? Which one's the truth?
mm.
That's the hard one, right?
Yeah. I've seen a few days ago. just a few days ago, I've seen, I'm not going to name names, but a very important person who was saying the greatest leader in the world is that leader, but he's a Muslim and I don't agree with his religion. And I was thinking, who do you think you are to express yourself as approving or not approving something? And that's come from the ego, Micah, right? When we are trying to impose our truth, that's coming from the ego. And your ideal and great idea about absolute peace and freedom comes with killing the ego. That's something that will never happen, unfortunately. But it might be useful to think about it a little bit. Each of us is allowed to have its own inner truth, right? So as long as it doesn't affect me directly, I shouldn't have anything to say in it. I shouldn't have an opinion about it. I shouldn't judge about it. I just should mind my own truth and follow it if I want to, and accept the others with their own truth, because we are that's our right to have our own truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone should have their own opinion. We've talked about it on the last podcast. Everyone, judges in some degree, and in some cases, right? Even in when they say not to judge, right? There's certain instances where a judgment is, delivered and it should be upheld, right? With the truth, it is so hard, and we're just going to keep hitting on that. Is it so hard to peel back all those layers? Right now, check this out. This is the second part of the topic I wanted to circle back to at the beginning. Is if you look at all of the AIs on the planet right now, all right, I'm not going to name them by name, but there are several very popular AIs that are functioning right now. Each one is programmed by a person. So you can't even ask the AI to parse the data that it can find to give you, close to the truth, because the AIs are influenced by people. So, and you've seen this in a very popular AI right now, where people are putting in prompts
Mm,
and it's turning up like historically inaccurate pictures. It's turning up historically inaccurate pictures. And so the thing is with that is like, now are we trying to hide the truth, right? And that's another part of this, is that during my journey to see the truth, and I try to remove the ego from every situation, right? I try to find that absolute freedom and peace. I'm
mm,
looking for it, right? I'm like, it's almost like a need for me to find that. And so I'm looking for that, but at the same time, someone's always trying to hide the truth, right? So there's always people in power. They're trying to hide the truth so they can either get more power, stay in power, or exert control and dominance. And I did just put a, like, I'm touching on a lot of stuff that I had just made a video on, on my personal channel here. But like, finding the truth and being able to find the truth when somebody's trying to hide it from you is even harder, right?
right. They're hiding it and they're distorting it. Sometimes I feel like they are treating us like small children, um, who can be fooled just like this. There are so many monstrosities right now that are presented like being the truth. And regarding this general truth, we are talking about the general truth, things that are well established in the world, right? Some people are trying to change these things. Uh, it became somehow impossible to express yourself freely. You might suffer because of it, right? We will see how many are brave enough to keep searching for the truth and to keep the truth, right? The well established truth. And but from my side, I don't see it. I don't see the truth remaining the same. It's gonna be changed.
And that's one of the other difficult parts, is because when they're trying, like I say they, right? So like let's say if you are seeking the truth, somebody's trying to hide the truth.
Mm,
There's always like you're trying to peel back layers at the end, and while they're slapping on additional layers, you peel back one layer, there's another two layers that they've just put right back onto that onion, right?
yeah.
So let's talk about two things here since we're kind of like in this area with finding the truth, right? We talked about, trying to get to that third person observer part. Let's talk about what happens when people try to hide the truth, right? So let's talk about gaslighting. Probably one of the most popular terms in the last 2 years in American media and in the news across the world, right? One of the most searched terms is what is
Mm,
gaslighting, right? And so that is when the person that is the gaslighter tries to manipulate somebody else by denying, altering, or hiding the reality of the situation. They may completely flat out deny that something happened when it didn't happen. They may uh, minimize it, right? Whatever they're doing, it's designed to hide the truth, right? And so, why do people do that? And I'm glad that you brought the ego into this conversation because people do with their bodies, their brains are designed to protect them. So, people's mind is protecting their ego, right? So it's all about power. It's all about, gaining it, controlling it, right? But once they have it, then it's about that ego of keeping that power, right? Nobody likes to be wrong. Nobody likes to admit that they're wrong. So that's the hard part is like removing that, but seeing through the gaslighting is exceptionally hard, especially when you're getting hit with it from all different angles when all
mm,
you want is just the truth. And that's the thing is like it's to me it's sometimes overwhelming because there is so much effort to hide the truth on the planet from people that why are we hiding it? And the only reason that they're hiding it is so they can stay in power or, you know, exert more power and control, right? Um, I believe that every person has the right to the truth. And that's why I fight so hard for it.
yeah, I think you also fight for the truth because you've been gaslighted so much. So I think this part of from inside of you who is seeking the truth, being honest, being kind, right? Trying to find this absolute peace. This person inside of you just became rebellious and said, "Okay, we have to just find the truth, right?" And it's very brave of you trying to keep the reality as it is and trying to keep the truth as it is with the gaslighter. It's draining. It's taking all of your energy.
It
So
takes a lot of energy.
yeah, it takes a lot of energy. And when you're saying it's overwhelming, it's the same thing I was feeling for myself in my relationship with gaslighters, people that are trying to change reality for their own interest, right? And
Mhm.
that's the main reason people are modifying the truth because they have an interest. It doesn't matter which
Absolutely.
one, or economical, financial, power, the interest of power, and so on. It's That's the main thing. We are changing the truth for this. And when you said the word overwhelming, that's how I was feeling when I was trying to keep my reality. Because when you have to deal with a gaslighter, it's very hard to hold on that reality because they keep saying that that's not the reality. And
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard.
I think many of your clients have this symptom when they're coming to your program of narcissistic abuse recovery. I thought that I'm going crazy, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, these are key terms that are going to be that are outlined in narcissistic abuse. So like the umbrella is manipulation, but then there's crazy making, which is actually a term. that is
Mm,
used in narcissistic abuse, which is part of gaslighting. So they all kind of like intertwine into each other. But if you've been gaslighted so much, but you're trying to hold on to that truth at the same time, that's where it kind of makes you crazy, right? And that's where I get clients that come in, and it is overwhelming because they see the truth, but they're being told that it's not true, right? Or they see, like their perception of the truth, and that's what we're going to get to here is that. Um, I wanted to touch on this, and I'm going to throw this in here real quick. We're both survivors of narcissistic abuse. I have a narcissistic abuse recovery program, and I have been gaslighted. But once I went through all of that abuse, now this is where I really wanted to bring this topic home, is because I was able to resist the gaslighting, right? So during that relationship, I was fighting for the truth the entire time. This person would say something, I would say, that's not how that happened, right? That would trick their ego or trip their ego. And then, like then would come the more abuses, right?
yeah.
So, but what I see now is because I went through that, because I've been able to like parse through that, my body, and I didn't even know this, but like since birth, right? Because of traumas that I've experienced throughout my life since birth, my nervous system is actually hypersensitive, hyper vigilant to interactions with people, right? So I'm uh, I can actually like feel like changes in people's body language, their micro expressions, like speech patterns, tone of voice. I can literally feel what not you specifically, but like if somebody is talking to me, I can pick up on that deception. Uh, and deception could be good or bad, right? So like let's say they're deceiving me because they're pretending to be in a good mood, but they're not actually in a good mood, right? I can pick that up.
Yeah, you are.
So I can still see that truth.
But you can spot it very well. Yeah, it happened with me a few times, if you remember.
Yeah. And if they're being deceptive, right? Let's say they're hiding the truth. If somebody's hiding the truth from me, I can actually feel that they're hiding the truth, right? And because I've survived this, right? I can actually pose scenarios, right? And so you've got somebody that's hiding the truth here. Behind that wall, there are any number of scenarios, like an umbrella of spider web of scenarios that are reasons for why they're hiding the truth. Now, in some cases, right, I can actually find that thread. I can find that thread on that spider web. I can find that reason why they're doing it. And so it's almost like I can feel thoughts, and that's like a weird way to put it, right? But I and because you don't want to say you're a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader, right? But my nervous system is so hypersensitive to other people that I can pick up on those things. Somebody could say that they're, like this or that, right? Somebody could say that they're joking with me, but they're not actually joking with me, and I can pick up on I'm actually reacting to. I may not be engaging with it, but I'm reacting to the fact that they're not joking, even if they're
Mm,
saying that they are joking, right? So I'm not actually interacting with. Let's put this in terms of reality, right? If somebody is interacting with me and they're presenting as something they're not, I don't interact with that mask. I actually interact with the person behind the mask. And so for narcissists and people that are empty or shells of themselves that wear masks all the time, that can be exceptionally dangerous. And for them, because it hurts their ego, right? Because that mask, right? I'm not interacting with the mask that they present. I'm interacting with the person behind the mask that they're trying to protect. And the problem with that is that paints a big target on my back. Wow.
yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I was. It takes a little bit of bravery to do it. Yeah, but I feel that you don't have a choice, right? Somehow, you don't have a choice.
No, it just happens, right? I can be interacting with somebody, right? Talk to them, right? And and this is usually how I know that I'm interacting with, now that I've got through abuse, right? And I've done, like my own internal lot of introspection, a lot of like meditation and soul healing, right? Because of that, I've looked back on it. Every relationship where I've been provoked into a response, like somebody will provoke, and then I'll respond, right? And then they'll play the victim, right?
Mm, yeah,
All the time, right? Now,
yeah.
the truth is that I responded like, I may have responded like loud, aggressive, right? I may have yelled at somebody, right? I'm not a saint, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, right? I've been angry, right? They've taken that and they've used it against me, my response, right? But what I'm looking at here is I'm also looking at what led up to that, right?
Sure.
Like all
Yeah,
of the different provocations that got me there that they don't want to take accountability for, but I'm somehow supposed to be taking accountability for my reaction to all their, provocations.
that's a very big problem, and it's not only with narcissists. It's a general problem when people forget where everything started, right? And they're blaming you for your reaction, forgetting what the reason was for that reaction. And it's, I was talking to a friend. I think we've been through this subject for so many times, talking about, are they forgetting what started it? So let's go back to the truth, because we have this topic. That's where you cannot blame me for half of it, right? You can. We should see why did this happen,
Right.
and then
Yeah,
we are to the. We should go back to what's true or not.
absolutely. And I spend so much time like introspection and thinking about like if I've done something wrong, I'm the first person to go get. I mean, and I have to be the first person, right? If I have done something wrong to hurt somebody else, like once I've figured out that I've done something wrong, I will be the right there, ready to, like try to make amends, try to apologize, and try to like reset the scale to like zero because I I care about people. I care about those interactions, right? It's for me, and I think we talked about this before, where I have trouble with after there's like been an interaction with somebody, whether it's been positive or negative. Every time I interact with them, I come as a blank slate, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I'm like, okay, I should be able to go up to apologize to this person, and like everything will be fine, right? But for them, that's the catch. And I had to learn that through this whole process after abuse is like I had to learn that people sometimes won't accept your apology, right? Um, or if you've made a mistake, right? But here's another catch is a lot of times they don't want to accept the apology because they also have done something wrong. Either they're blind to it or they they don't want to accept, this is the ego, right? They don't want to accept their part in doing the wrongdoing. So what do? They avoid you altogether. And a lot of times with that avoidance becomes making that other person the bad guy. So they're avoiding somebody, making the other person a bad guy. It's 50-50. Both persons, had a part in it. And if if they could just sit down and talk and maybe communicate about it, get to the truth of the situation, there is a high likelihood that the misunderstandings could be cleared up and the
Sure.
relationship or whatever it is could be mended. And that's what I see is I see that opportunity to mend a relationship, to fix it, to like work towards building better relationships, not kicking people out of your life. Now in some cases it's a safety thing, right? So like I don't want to interact with my ex, the narcissist, my abuser, right? I don't want to interact with that individual. I don't want to see them, don't want to be around them. The
Hmm.
fact is that that is a boundary that's healthy boundaries because I know I've tried. I tried to bring the truth to this individual. I tried to sit with them. I tried to share feelings, be vulnerable, be open, be honest about myself. I tried all of that. It was all taken for granted. I was betrayed, gaslit, and then made into enemy number one, smear campaign, which, as somebody that's fighting for the truth, a smear campaign can be devastating because I
True.
know what's true. and I'm willing to admit what's true and what's not true. But the smear campaign is counter to that because it is all not true, right? So, but the problem is like I want to interact with the people that have heard the smear campaign because I can tell them the truth. The problem is I got to get used to the fact that they may not want to hear it, right?
Yeah,
Because of that smear campaign, they may shut off that communication. As an abuse victim, that can be isolating. But then you have to realize that these people aren't really in your life. They don't really need to be in your life. It's unfortunate that that connection, that seeking the truth can't happen. But in some cases, that's just how the cookie crumbles.
you are talking about you seeking for the truth, and how this smear campaign can be devastating for someone who is open to admit their mistakes, open to apologize, and when don't find a partner in it, it can be devastating, and not being able to defend yourself and so on. And for many times, I've been thinking, what are these people holding on? You know, what what do you really want in life? Because being I mean, holding yourself accountable for things, that shows that you're a grown up, right? Being able to introspect and see where you've done wrong, and apologize for it. Again, it shows you that you're a grown up, and in many times it shows that you're a good person. So the ones that are not doing it, I'm wondering, what are they holding on? What do they want to prove? What Mainly, what do these people want?
So what I've kind of discovered is that typically they believe the abuser rather than the abuse victim. So they honestly believe that the victim, right, me in this case, is the bad guy. So they don't want to interact with me because they've been gaslit. They're the truth of the situation, even if they've seen it. I've had people that have seen me be like a nice individual myself, right? They've seen that, but then they've still attacked me or believed the smear campaign because it was so convincing. So their reality, their truth has been manipulated to be something else that it's not in order to benefit the abuser, right? You said that, right? There's always a benefit, there's always an agenda, power, control, political, financial, whatever, to benefit, right? So that when what do they want? They don't want the truth. And that is the catch. So, and I want to talk about this a little bit. A lot of people don't want the truth. They're afraid of it. I have a
What?
quote. Hmm?
Why? Why?
Um, it hurts their ego,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Right. So like it literally gut punches their ego. If somebody's wrong, if somebody has wronged you, they are guaranteed to be likely to avoid you, right? They don't want to accept that responsibility, that accountability, but there's also shame that's involved in that, right? I'm willing to talk to that individual that has wronged me and try to fix it with them. Uh, and on almost every single occasion. Problem is that the truth of the matter is they don't want to fix it because them fixing it would admit to them that would mean that they were wrong, right? And that's the problem is so many people are so used to hiding the truth, not actually connecting with their inner self or anybody else. They're literally just functioning within the ego, right? That's their life. They're blind, their minds are not awake to the truth because they don't want to see it because they're still functioning in ego. It's a defense mechanism for themselves. And that's something
I
that
think,
I definitely have seen.
yeah, I'm sorry to say it, it might sound harsh, but it's not, I might be a defense mechanism, but it's also a stupidity mechanism. Because as long as you're a grown up and you're not willing to accept that you've been wrong, and you don't understand the benefits of understanding that you've been wrong, because there are so many benefits coming with this one, right? um you understand that you've been wrong, then you can apologize first of all, and you can get rid of the shame and the guilt. You can improve yourself. You can be a good example for the ones around you. You can have much better relationships. and the list can be endless almost. So it's there's so many benefits in accepting that you've been wrong. That's why I'm saying that's the stupidity mechanism. And I don't think a smart person who knows how to introspect will ever do it. And many of them are also afraid of being held accountable for it, or pay for their mistakes. That's why the criminals are running from the law, right?
Right. I mean, that's it. That's literally it. I mean, you've got people, right? I'm gonna throw a little something that's in the news right now. There's a case in the news right now where somebody is going after somebody else, but it looks like they've committed the exact same things. Now, their body language, their behaviors, their mannerisms, how they've interacted on camera indicate to me that they're actually guilty. They're hiding something that they're, but essentially what it is called is going to be projection. They're projecting onto the other person what they're at, what they actually did, right? Because they think that they're righteous or they're in the right, they're in the like they're on the right side of whatever's going on. They can't, they either can see and they're ignoring it, or they're just they're not able to see that what they're doing is exactly what they're going after the other person for. So it's kind of interesting to watch that play out, but that's where like I can see past that gaslight. I can see past that deception, right? And because of that, it's almost impossible for somebody to lie to me. It's a pretty, I mean, there's almost no chance that somebody can lie to me, and I won't know that, I won't be able to see through it, right? Because remember, I don't interact with the mask, I interact with the person behind the mask. And so the truth to me, when interacting with somebody, is right there in front of me. They don't like that.
Of course, of course not. I remember something that my therapist told me one time. I had someone I knew saying all the time, "I don't eat meat," but they were always having meat in the plate. But they would keep saying, I don't like meat. I just hate it." But every day they were eating meat. And I told my therapist, with this person? I mean, aren't they? Don't they live in the same reality? I mean, I can see their meat, and they're putting the meat in their mouth, and they're not eating meat. How can this happen? And they say, my therapist says, they live in a different reality from yours. They just made an idea about themselves. That's the idea. I don't eat meat. And it doesn't matter what it happens in reality. So they don't live consciously. They live in their own dream where they don't eat meat. But in the real life, they are eating meat every day.
They got chicken right in front of them, you know. Yeah, I mean it's interesting to see that, because you're right. That happens on a daily basis. And I think that if more people were willing to, and I can't say should, like I don't really like to tell people what to do, right? I'm thinking if more people were willing to introspect, to like maybe kind of like peel back the layers of themselves, right? Because if we can be honest with ourselves, that's how we can be honest in the external world, right? Remember what I said, like people project the negative aspects of their reality onto other people, right? This is a defense mechanism. So this happens no matter what, right? And it's really hard. I've been working really, really hard to remove those projections so I can see from that, observer, like just I'm observing, not absorbing kind of position. And so peeling back those layers of that onion to get there, that's pretty hard,
It is. But
especially for some people. Like, I mean, didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, it's hard for other people to get there, right? There's either a willingness to refuse it, or it will cause too much pain for them to do it.
yeah, I think I don't even care about their reasons. I think they should try it because sometimes it involves a lot of suffering. And if someone comes to you and says, "You made me suffer," it's so annoying for the other to say, "That's your opinion," or "I don't care," or "It's your problem." And I'm not afraid of saying they should try to introspect a little bit. They should put some more empathy in their relationships and try to fix that problems. If someone comes, I'm gonna be very honest here. If someone comes to me and says you did this and you hurt me, and I know that I didn't realize doing it, because sometimes I might hurt intentionally and I'm not very proud of it, but it might happen.
Yeah, I
But
mean, nobody's perfect.
yeah, if I did it unintentionally and I just didn't realize, and they come to me and say it, for real, I don't know how to apologize sooner, because I don't want to hurt anyone and I want them to know that I don't want to hurt them. But if I'm doing the same with that person, let's say my friend, one of my friends, came to me and said, "You hurt me here. I'm sorry." I said, "I'm sorry. It won't happen. I'm gonna be more careful." If I'm going to the same person, I'm saying, "You hurt me here," that person might say to me, "That's your problem. I don't care." And where is the balance here?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is like we can't force somebody else to do something else. I've had people come to me, I said something that I shouldn't have said to somebody. It wasn't aggressive, it was just not appropriate, not nice, right?
Yeah.
And at the time I didn't think anything of it, right? I'm went about my day. I just said this thing, right? And then just went about my day. And sometimes I walk around blind to the rest of what everybody else is experiencing. This person came to me and asked me for an apology. I was willing to do it, right? Because I introspected on it, like, okay, yeah, I messed up, right? I was able to come to the table to do that. Um, at the same time, there were things that they had done uh, that were inappropriate, like in retaliation towards me, right?
Mm,
I didn't ask for apology. I didn't, like, I mean, I don't want to say it's transactional. I also don't want to say I'm expecting one. This individual is not capable of giving that apology in it yet, right? Currently. So what they thought they were doing is right. And that's where the problem comes into a lot of times with the truth, right? And think about it like this. We're going to swing back to the beginning before we get out of here. The truth is people are doing what they think is right. So a lot of religions, that ideology thinks it's right, right? So they do that even if it hurts somebody else.
no one says that is not right. As we were saying at the beginning, we have the right to believe in everything we want and to find our own truth. But at the same time, if I'm coming to you with my own truth and you don't care about it, why would I care? Like we were saying the last podcast about judgment, why would I care about yours?
So that's like an absorption, right? So like if I were going, like let's say you come to me, right? And I say, I don't care what you have to say,
Mm,
then you know, um, some people will internalize that, right? As an abuse victim, previously I was internalizing those kind of responses. So those responses were taking a toll on me, right? Now what I've done is I've been able to not absorb. So, and I've said this kind of, I think I've said this in this podcast, it's observe, not absorb. And that's what I'm seeking to do. Um, but not just in finding the truth. As I'm going through life, I'm seeking to observe life, not absorb it, right? I notice if
mm,
I'm looking at the news, right? That's probably the worst thing that I can do. The reason being is because remember, everyone's in power, wants control, they want to keep those things.
mm,
So every time I look at the news, all I see are, like what's happening behind the headlines to make this headline a reality, or what this person's actually saying versus what they're, conveying in person.
mm,
Because remember, I'm interacting with that. I'm seeing, I'm not interacting in this case because I'm watching it, but I'm seeing past what they're presenting to the, TV, and I'm seeing their agenda behind it. And that's kind of like the hard part. They're not actually telling the truth. And that's why I think I pick up on it so much, because I can see through all of that.
yeah. I mean, it must be very tiring sometimes.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
I watching the news is for me is a downward spiral of increasing stress and anxiety, because I'm actively I'm not observing at that point. I'm actively looking for to I'm trying to like learn about the world, right? Keep up with what's happening. But because I'm doing that, I'm actually I'm not observing anymore. I'm absorbing. And that's where I take on all of those negative energies, and I have
Yeah,
to figure out a way to dispel them. One quick thing, in order for me to dispel it, I usually do like martial arts, I do some working out, or I go spend time in nature.
yeah. What I want to say before we close up, the truth is that they're trying to hide the truth. Many people are trying to do this, even if it's political, financial, or someone next to you. Many people are trying to hide the truth. That's the truth. That's something we
Absolutely.
care of. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you guys could join us. If you have any questions about the truth or even my narcissistic abuse recovery program, drop it in the comments section below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. We will see you in the next one.